Earlier this year, a friend of mine who does a good chunk of side work sent me a screenshot of his estimated tax return on TurboTax, and it was negative $18,000. As in, he was going to owe the government 18 grand. Today, I'm going to teach you how to not be my friend. Or, I want you to be my friend. I'm going to teach you how to not be like my friend. Although he's actually a cool guy when you get to know him. You should be like him, except for the tax stuff. You know what I mean. Roll the stinger! Fact: self-employment can offer a ton of great benefits like flexibility, time freedom, creative control and ownership of your ideas, and the general satisfaction of owning your own business and knowing you're creating opportunities for you and your family. Another fact: regular old-fashioned employment can also offer a ton of great benefits like stability and health insurance and back office support and paid time off and other perks. But these different sets of benefits don't have to be mutually exclusive. With a little planning, you, yes, you, Ms. Freelance Videographer, and you, Mr. Baking as a hobby turned growing home-based business, you can build your own benefits package, predictable income, and peace of mind. This is part 2 of a 3-part series covering the unholy trinity of trepidation, or the trifecta of travail, or the big 3 most costly benefits that self-employed individuals risk losing when they leave their job. The 3 things that might even stop you dead in your tracks on your way to full-time entrepreneurship because you just don't know how you're going to replace or manage these things on your own. And they are sick leave or paid time off, taxes, and health insurance. In part 1, we talked about paid time off and how to make sure you can take a day off without everything going over the cliff. I also talked a little bit about how to price yourself appropriately. And that's important because this stuff costs money. When you're working for an employer, you're not just getting a paycheck, you're getting a bunch of other goodies as well. And they have priced your compensation and all of their operating expenses into the cost of their goods and services. And you need to do the same thing. Be sure to check out that video because that lays the foundation for how you're going to pay for everything moving forward. Today, we're going to talk about a very unsexy and often overlooked benefit: tax liability. Did you know your salary is subject to a 12.4% Social Security tax and a 2.9% Medicare tax, 15.3% in total for what's often referred to as FICA tax for Federal Insurance Contributions Act. Yes. This is separate from federal and state income taxes. That gets calculated later. Bummer. But the good news is employers are responsible for covering half of their employees' FICA taxes. So you actually only pay 6.2% and 1.45% for Social Security and Medicare respectively, and your employer picks up the tab for the remaining half. So not only does your employer take care of all the paperwork and withhold your taxes and make payments to the IRS on your behalf, they actually help you save 7.65 of your salary every year. Isn't that nice of them? Don't you kind of want to go back to your old finance department and give them a cookie tray or something? When you are self-employed, you don't have anybody covering the employer's share of FICA taxes anymore. That falls on your shoulders. For any money you earn as a non-employee or independent contractor, you have to pay the full 15.3%. This is what we call self-employment tax. It's all the same thing as FICA, it's just called differently based on who's paying it. And this is why new freelancers usually have a very unpleasant experience filing taxes after their first year of making a little self-employment income.
Hey honey, looks like we're gonna get a good chunk of change back this year. I just gotta plug in my 1099s and
Remember my friend who got the $18,000 tax bill? Fortunately, it all evened out in the end. After he plugged in his expenses, I think he even got a refund. But let's talk about some things he can do to better prepare for next year and avoid all of the despair and heart palpitations and maybe even save a little bit on his tax bill. Now, I have to let you know, I am not an accountant or a tax attorney. This is not financial advice. You should absolutely consult with a tax professional if you have any questions. But I want to take a few moments to present to you some steps you can take and concepts you can research further as you climb the ladder towards self-employment tax enlightenment. And I will present these steps in the best way I know how, through the Vince McMahon reaction meme. Number 1, intrigued face. Open a separate bank account. Don't mingle your personal finances and business finances. Deposit all of your income into a separate business bank account and pay all of your business expenses out of this new business bank account. Likewise, get a separate business credit card and pay for all of your expenses with that. Do not pay for personal expenses. As tempting as it might be to take advantage of some cashback categories or whatever, you need to keep things clean. This seems pretty simple, but people mess this up and muddy the waters, and it really is hard to unravel further down the road. Number 2, hey, this is exciting face. Stay on top of tracking your income and expenses. Use a spreadsheet or better yet, some accounting software. I personally like Fiverr Workspace and Bonsai. I like them because in addition to the accounting stuff, they also handle proposals and invoices and contracts and a bunch of other business operations. But there's tons of tools out there that you can use. You have to use something. Keep track of what is happening with your business. And when you're tracking business expenses, make sure that you're also categorizing them. Advertising, office supplies, professional fees, insurance, and what have you. Most tools are going to have these categories pre-built for you to choose from, and they usually, hopefully, match up with the tax forms, but you're going to get quizzed on this later when it comes time to file your taxes, so make sure that you are keeping track of what is what and how much money you are spending in each of these categories. The better you keep up with your books throughout the year, the less of a headache you'll have to endure when it comes time to file your taxes. Number 3. The don't stop, keep going face. Open up even more bank accounts. 4 more, to be precise. You'll deposit all of your income into that first account that you opened in step 1, and then you divvy that up into a profit account, an owner's pay account, an operating expense account, and a tax account. I have another video that dives deeper into how these accounts work and why they work. You can check that out here. The key here is to keep your taxes separate. Every time you get a paycheck, immediately take a chunk of that money and put it in a separate tax holding account. Fortunately, this was not the case with my friend, but just imagine getting a letter saying you owe the government $18,000, but you already spent it on a down payment for an in-ground swimming pool and plane tickets to fly your in-laws in for a pool dedication ceremony. That would be a sicky situation. Son. Holding taxes in a separate account will assure that you have money in the bank to pay your dues. Number 4, I can't breathe. Quarterly estimated payments. Now, you might consider this less of an achievement to unlock and more of a pain in the tuchus. Quarterly estimated tax payments don't get nearly the amount of respect they deserve, especially if you know how to handle it correctly, which I did not always know. And I have another video about that right here. I'm not going to speak at length about that here, except to say you can set up your quarterly payments to be processed automatically throughout the year.
If you followed all the instructional material, you just...
And so when it comes time to file your taxes, they've already been covered. Instead of getting stuck with one big painful tax bill, you might find out that you overpaid and you can get some money back for a change. Number 5, laser eyes. S-Corp election. Everything up to this point you could do as a sole proprietorship or an LLC. For this step, you have to get yourself incorporated. Quick word about LLCs. Right out of the box, they don't offer any tax benefits, but they do provide some legal protection by creating what's called a corporate veil between your business entity and your personal assets. That comes in handy in case somebody wants to sue. An S-Corp election is a special tax status that you stick on top of your LLC. And when you do that, that opens up a whole wonderful box of chocolates. And the creamiest, carameliest, ganachiest bonbon of all is the ability for you to pay yourself as an employee. Why does that matter? Well, remember when your old employer used to pay for half of your Social Security and Medicare taxes, but then you quit your job to follow your dream and ended up having to pay a little bit more in taxes than you probably anticipated? Well, now you get to go back to work for yourself. Let's head down to the kitchen. When you're a sole proprietorship or an LLC without an S-Corp election, you're also known as a disregarded entity, and all of your business income flows through to you. So even though in the law's eyes you are two separate entities, your business and your personal life, and you even have this corporate veil here, the IRS sees things a little bit more mixed up. And all business income you receive when you sell a coaching package or a box of muffins or a car wash, it all flows through to the same bucket. And because there is no distinction between employee and employer, you are on the hook for the full 15.3% FICA tax. That's what the blue water means. But if you opt for an S-Corp election, your business gets paid, and then you have two options on how to get that money into your personal bank account. You can take a salary or a distribution. Now, when you pay yourself a salary, you're acting as both the employer and the employee, paying and receiving payroll. So you're paying both sides of the FICA tax liability, and that totals out to the full 15.3% blue tax water. But distributions are not subject to FICA taxes, only federal and state income taxes. All of your business profits pass through to you just like they did before, but now you're responsible for much less self-employment taxes.
Very important note. You must pay yourself a reasonable salary. Now, unfortunately, the IRS is not very clear as to what that means, but let's just say if you tried to pay yourself only $1,000 a year and then take a $99,000 distribution, so you're paying like only $153 on $100,000 of business income, you're probably gonna get a pretty nasty letter in the mail. You could probably get away with going 50-50 salary and distribution. Some people recommend actually breaking out your different job roles and figuring out the appropriate compensation based on what you actually do in your business. But here's some bonus coolness. Whatever you land on for your salary, you can deduct that as a business expense, which lowers your year-end tax liability even further and put more money back in your pocket. It's like a double, triple, are we up to quadruple whammy now for S-Corp perks? Why would anybody not want to do this? I'll tell you why. It's really complicated, and you can get yourself in trouble if you are not very careful to follow all of the rules, file all of the right paperwork, and keep very clean books, or pay somebody else to handle all of this for you. And that can get pretty expensive. But there are some affordable options out there, and you should definitely check them out if you are considering an S election to unlock some of these juicy tax benefits. I signed up with Formations Corp over a year ago now to start an S Corp, and it's been wonderful. I should do a deep dive on them in the future, but my nutshell review for them right now is give them a call, because they handle everything from filing the LLC and S-Corp paperwork to helping you figure out your reasonable salary to handling your books and running financial reports. They file your annual business tax return, and they have a team of experts on call ready to answer your questions and help you navigate all of this business tax weirdness. They've been great. Now, I got in a little early, and they've since raised their prices. I think it's about $350 a month now, but that's really reasonable considering everything that you get. And especially considering that your tax savings will be more than the cost of their service. It's like you are hiring a whole back office financial team for less than $0. Now again, this is laser eyes level stuff. If you're just starting out, you probably don't want to mess around with S-Corp stuff until you are bringing in about $60,000 or $70,000 pre-tax. Depending on your tax filing status and where you live and some other situations, it could be a little bit lower. You can reach out to the Formations Corp team, and they will give you an honest assessment of your situation, let you know if an S-Corp is a good fit. Wherever you are and whatever you do, don't not think about taxes. Putting off the tax stuff until the very last minute is just going to bite you in the butt.
and you could be missing out on a lot of great opportunities. So hunker down, study up, make sure you're taking care of at least those first 4 steps, and then stay tuned for my next video, because in my 3rd and final installment, I'm going to be talking about health insurance. So pray for me while I prep for that one. This is complicated stuff. It can be intimidating, but don't be scared. It's all figure-outable. I figured it out, so you can figure it out. Don't let it keep you from pursuing your dreams. If you feel called to self-employment, go for it. You need to go in with your eyes open and aware of some of this stuff that you're going to navigate. And hopefully this video and some of the other stuff I'm putting out there is helpful in navigating that. If you have any more questions, drop a comment below or reach out to me on selfemploymentsidekick.com. I am here to help you through it. I'm rooting for you. I will see you in the next one.